We have 5 champions. 5. Hey, it's another edition of Coffee with the Goose, where we talk about things that are interesting, fascinating, and irritating. I'm the Goose. I'm a little bit of all three, I think. Glad to have you join me again. We're going to talk boxing, but before we get into it, and we got a lot of information for you, I've got to have a sip of our Java, right? Our coffee, very strong, like my opinion, and they've got some creamer in there to make it sweet, just like me. Not that I need any help with that. All right, here we go. Off to a new year, an exciting year in boxing, especially with Filipino boxing. We have 5 champions. 5. Yes. And I'm going to give you details on all of these guys. And we've got a couple of fights coming up. One in just a few days. So stick with me on this, okay? Let's go down the list. We'll start with the IBF Super Flyweight division. And the champion is Jerwin Ancajas from the Philippines. He is, I can't remember how old he is, not old, okay, he's still in his prime, but he's 33, 1-1 with 22 KOs. He was scheduled to fight, in Japan recently, but due to, COVID, they called it off. He's, I'm not sure about the details on his next fight, but we will cover it, okay? Oh, and by the way, another one of those great nicknames. Another thing that Filipinos lead the world in, okay? If you know Filipino culture, you know, nicknames are part of their being, it seems. Jerwin Ancajas is Pretty Boy. There you go. So Jerwin is a world champion, super flyweight division. More champions and active. How about Mark Magsayo? What a show he put on in Atlantic City, New Jersey a short time ago, beating Gary Russell Jr., winning the WBO flyweight, featherweight division, world championship. Magsayo, Magnifico, and he was Magnifico that night. We brought you all the details. He's still only 26 years old. He's from Bohol. His record, splendid, 24-0 with 16 KOs. And, you know, for those of you, and I know a few of you may disagree with the decision. Come on now, let's be honest. That's part of the game. Sometimes your guy loses, okay? You may not like how it went, but it's very clear that Magsayo won that fight. Don't tell me, you know, Russell is a warrior. And I've said it before, I respect him. And, you know, I don't give him a hard time the way he complained about the decision. That's just, it's hard to lose your title, and one that you had for so many years. But, you know, yeah, he fought one-armed for half the fight, but it was Magsayo who injured him. And look at the video. It was clear he was fighting just with both hands, very smooth up until that point. Magsayo won the fight. And you know, don't tell me that Russell could have won the fight with both arms, because he was losing with both arms up until the injury. So Magsayo is the champion, WBC featherweight title holder, and he's got a mandatory title defense coming up. They've already announced it, and it's a tough battle. Another unbeaten fighter from Mexico. They're all good. Ray Vargas, 35-0. So he's very good. We'll get all the details as to the date and the venue. When we get it, we'll pass that along to you. The third champion from the Philippines. We've grown very accustomed to this, and I won't call him old. Well, not to me, 39 is not old. And that is the Filipino Flash, Nonito Donaire, still a champion, WBC bantamweight champion of the world. He won his last fight last year. He's from Taliban in the Philippines, 42-6 with 28 KOs. And by the way, I'm sure you've already heard, but I'll remind you, he is the 2021 PBC Fighter of the Year. Adds to his trophy case. Nonito Donaire, one of the all-time greats. Another Filipino champion, and this is this guy deserves a show all by himself, and we're going to do that here shortly, okay? John Real Casimero. Nothing boring about this guy. Now, first of all, I like John Real Casimero. Nothing against him. He's like, you know, trouble seems to find this guy. Sometimes it's his fault, sometimes it's not, but it's always controversy with John Real Casimero. Not always, but often. But he still got a title, okay? You remember last year he was all set to fight Donaire, but they canceled it because of some drug testing issues. Not that he tested positive, but there were some issues. And also he insulted Donaire's wife, and you don't do that. You don't do that. Although I wish they would have just fought anyhow. What better way to defend your wife's honor than by beating the snot out of your opponent? That would have been a great one. But at any rate, John Real Casimero, still a champion, 32 years old out of Lady, 31-4 on his career with 21 knockouts. His last scheduled fight, he did not make weight. And so he's going to end up fighting this guy again. Again, we'll get into the details in a future show. We'll talk all about John Real Casimero, and there's a lot to talk about. Okay, the fifth and final of the Filipino world champions as of today is Rene Cuarto. He is the IBF mini flyweight titleist. He's 25 years old, out of Zamboanga, 19-2 with 2 draws and 11 KOs. And another great nickname, Mighty Mouse. I love it. He's scheduled to fight this Saturday night in the Philippines, in Davao, against, it's going to be a rematch against Pedro Taduran. And Kid Pedro is his nickname. His record, by the way, he's a 25-year-old fighter out of Manila. He is 14-3, 1 draw, 11 KOs, and he is a lefty, which should make it a good, interesting matchup. So there you have it, 5 Filipino champions. By the way, you know, I have to add this. Why? I think it's money, okay, media. But fighters from Asia tend not to show up on the radar screen to us here in the West, and I don't know why. You hear all about American fighters, Latin America, South American boxers, those from Europe, including Eastern Europe and Russia. And the reason I'm not, when I give you these numbers here in a second, when I say Asia, I'm not including Russia. I know my geography, okay. The vast majority, bet you didn't know this, vast majority of Russia is in Asia. But we tend to look at them as Europeans or Westerners. So not counting Russia or Eastern Europe, there are a total of 14 Asian world champions. 5 of them from the Philippines. So we like to, because just a little reminder, I'm married to a Filipino. My kids have Pinoy blood. My partner, my great producer Jude, of course, is comes from the Philippines, and it's in my blood. I've been over there many times. I lived there for 1 year, so it's in my blood too. And great fighters. We had the great honor the last couple of years of gaining the trust of the Manny Pacquiao camp. And for the last 2 of his fights, we were allowed into his training camp. We interviewed everybody, it seems, in his camp, and everybody associated with Manny Pacquiao. And, hopefully we'll stay in good graces with these guys. We're big fans of theirs. And when you look back through history, Pacquiao's not the first. He may be the greatest, but he's not the first. I counted, and it's hard to keep track of this, at least 45, maybe close to 50 Filipino world champions in boxing history. So there's a long, rich history of great world champions in the ring from the Philippines. Okay, we're going to leave it at that. Got a lot of territory to cover here. Some great fights coming up, some interesting characters, and we'll stay on top of it. Again, the fight between Cuarto and Taduran coming up this Saturday night for the IBF mini flyweight title of the world. So we'll cover that for you. That's it for this edition of Coffee with the Goose. Thank you so much for joining me, and I love your comments. Bring it on. Love to hear what you have to say. Talk to you again soon.